Good morning, everyone. How y'all doing? There we go. So, welcome to a little mini break in the middle of all the speedruns, which everyone has been absolutely amazing. This whole week, people have been just smashing those estimates left and right, grounding them up, making them into PB smoothies. It's been fantastic. But we are going to take a mini break, and we're going to do some art. So one of the things that was done during the first Frame Fatales is they would have different art and tech showcases. So we have brought that over, and we are going to be showing everyone how you make an emote in the program Inkscape. Inkscape is a completely free vector software program. You can want more information, you can go to inkscape.org to find out about it. And we're going to go ahead and make an emote. Alongside me, I have the RPG chick.
Good morning.
Yes, who is going to be helping to forward questions from chat to me. And so let's go ahead. I'll do my best to make this a good tutorial for people who have never seen this program before. And let's go ahead. So I know there's an actual countdown clock here, so let's get started in 3, 2, 1. So this is our emote. I am super duper pleased that GDQ is cool with me doing an emote of the Frame Fatale's wonderful mascot, Faith. And this is something that I've had to kind of keep under wraps, but this will be added to the GDQ emote list. So it's not going to be up, unfortunately, by the end of the marathon. We want to make sure that this is looking absolutely perfect before it gets added in there. But hopefully by next Tree Fort, you will now be able to have an extra Faith emote. So we're going to go ahead, get started. So
If at any time y'all have questions for
Yes.
Schala, yeah, just please post them in chat, and I will be more than happy to read them out to her. Also, because this is only about an hour or so, we do have Steven Universe coming up next. And there is a very short poll for the duration of this part of the stream going on the Frame Fatale's Twitter to vote on the boss name for the Steven Universe boss. So please make sure you go do that so we can see some awesome, funny names.
The name choices are great. You can either have Dave, Insectisaw, Furnace Face, or the Bladinator. My vote went to Dave because I have 2 friends named Dave, and I think both of them would appreciate it. Anyway, so Inkscape is a vector software program. There's basically 2 main ways you do digital art. There is raster, which the art then is based off of individual pixels, and then there is vector, which instead the art is based off of points and lines when you get kind of right down to it. This means that vector art is infinitely scalable. So I'm going to just over here off to the side, we're going to scoot away from... So if I go ahead and I had to get on a layer that is currently accepting inputs. There we go. So if I go ahead and I make a square, I can then make this square as big as I want or as small as I want, and it will change accordingly without losing any of the detail. So, and also Inkscape is very cool in that it has layers very much like Photoshop layers, but the layers work a little differently. They allow us to kind of go through and have different parts of the drawing on different sections. What we're actually going to do is we're going to start off with this heart up here at the top, because we can do this whole heart start to finish pretty quickly. So I'm using Inkscape's built-in pen tool. Again, I'm going to be comparing a lot of things to Photoshop just because it's probably an art program a lot of people have some level of familiarity with. But if you've ever used Photoshop before... Oh, let me just... And sorry there, I had a reminder. Let me go ahead and open up our fill and stroke. This allows us to have extremely precise control over what do our lines look like, what colors are we choosing. So usually the way I like to do things is I like to use the pen tool to sort of lay out the points of what I'm drawing, and then I kind of go in and touch them up as we go. And just so you all know, I'm doing all of this with a mouse. I do have a tablet, but I learned to do vector art with a mouse, so that's basically how I like to do things. So this is proof that you don't need fancy software, because this is free. You don't need fancy tools. You don't need to put the money down on, a tablet. You can do art just like this. So go in here, we're gonna...
So did you scan this picture in, or?
Yeah, so what I did is I did the sketch by hand. I like to do my sketches by hand. I have several different sketchbooks. The main ones I use, I actually really like the ones by Art Alternatives. They're nice and sort of lightweight sketchbooks, and you get usually a lot of pages, and they're spiral bound, so that makes it kind of easy to flip to what you need. So I did the sketch earlier. I scanned it in with my scanner, and now we're doing... This is basically like digital inking, so we're going to do our ink kind of over on top of the sketch. What I'm doing right now is I'm making sure that all of my points are what are considered to be, let's see, what's the exact term they want for it? Yeah, smooth points. So this means that they'll have this nice curve to them. There are like a few different types. The main ones we use are smooth and corners. So with smooth ones, it moves as one sort of full section. Corners, you can move the two nodes independently. So I'm going to move this over just the slightest bit.
And honestly, this is kind of nice because for any of you artists out there who have accidentally messed up drawings when you inked by hand, this makes it so much safer.
Yeah. The one thing I really like about doing vector art is that unless you really want to, you can keep a drawing in an editable state. In a state where you can edit it. There we go. We got there. You can keep the drawing in a state where you can edit it pretty much indefinitely. So there you go. And I'm just going to do, this is a fun little thing, we can turn the sketch layer on and off. Make sure that we like that heart even without the sketch reference underneath it. I'm just going to round this corner a bit more.
I do have to say, this already makes me very, very happy because I've definitely had issues with inking in the past.
One thing I definitely recommend for people who want to get a little better at inking... Oop, there we go. Hello. That's just Inkscape. Sometimes when you have the raster drawing underneath, it might take a second to re-render it when you're moving your zoom around. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and put the color down on this heart. I went through earlier. LLK, who is the designer of Faith, does a whole bunch of the absolutely wonderful graphics that you see for GDQ, like the banners and everything. She has a wonderful sense of color. So I went through and I pulled a color palette. So that's what's kind of over here. So I have taken that color. That is now my fill color. I'm going to temporarily turn off my stroke color so we can go ahead and let's get back on the right layer. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a fill underneath here. This is because the line art I usually do isn't super good to just apply a fill to that shape. So instead, usually I do the fills as their own shape. We're actually going to just do a little fun thing here. We're going to delete those nodes, recreate them. There we go. So now we have our heart, and what we're going to do is we're going to use, this is another fun thing with vectors. They have what's called grouping features. So right now, this pink is what's considered to be the top of the group. So what we're going to do, we're just going to go ahead and go page down, and now it's underneath our line art. we're going to go very quickly into... Here, we'll go ahead and put the general shape down, and then we'll adjust the fill.
Layers are such a wonderful thing.
Layers are wonderful, and with Inkscape in particular, you can have a lot of the layers. So we're going to kind of try to stay within roughly the same color palette, and we're going to make this more of a purpley sort of shade for our shading. Let me actually go look back over here, see if there's a shade that would look good. Actually, here, let's do this very cute purple, and we'll kind of go from there. And you can see, if I don't like this shade, I can go ahead, I can mess with it as much as I want. There we go, that's fine, that's a good shade. Add a little shading to our heart. There we go. And again, we are just going to go ahead and hide it underneath our line layer.
Oh wow, you can even vector move the shading. That's really neat. I love this.
Yeah, you can... Yep, you can move the shading, because basically the way it actually works is that these are considered to all be independent shapes. So it's a shape of color just by itself. I can move it wherever I want it to. And again, if I want this to be like a different color, I can just go in, edit it, say want it to be like ever so slightly darker. And I want this one to match. I'm going to go ahead, just do my color picker. Boop. And that's all it takes to actually edit stuff. So what we'll do very quickly, let's see, and we want this to have 4 corners. Is we're gonna got some cute little star sparklies. But luckily, Inkscape actually has a tool for that.
Even better.
So if you like cute little star sparklies, there's a whole star tool that just, all it does is generate stars. And so I use that a lot when I'm doing little, like, sparkly effects. Let's see.
Yeah, I can definitely attest. Schala has definitely made many adorable emotes. So this having her do this tutorial is a super duper treat.
There we go. So now we have cute little heart. We might go in and edit it a little bit afterwards. But the main reason I wanted to do this sort of by itself is because, and I'll sort of turn off the sketch layer for one more moment. So this bounding box is the size of the kind of emote canvas we want to work with. You can see when I was drawing, I went a little bigger than that. So now the heart is there just by itself, and we're going to just group that all together. We can now move it wherever we want. So when we go in to actually finish this, we can actually lower the heart down. And while we'll be doing the line art of Faith, we'll be going in and just making sure that we have completely lined and colored her. So that way we can have the freedom to move the heart wherever we want. So I'm going to go over to the main line art layer. Also, we can just turn off the heart. We can come back to it later. So we're going to go in the line layer. We're going to go back to doing our line art. This is very much inspired by the little tree fort ad you've seen. And just as a reminder, all these beautiful GDQ hotfix shows happen because of support from all you lovely viewers out there who decide to either donate bits or sub to the channel. And that includes not only Frame Fatales, but also Tree Fort and Hotfix and The Sprint and all those lovely GDQ shows that you get to see during the marathon off season. So I've already gone ahead, sure I did like the top of Faith's head. And usually I like to do all my line art first, before I go in and do the color underneath. Also, I tend not to use too many points for my lines. The fewer points you use, the smoother the final lines will be.
Also, to answer the chat questions, this is Inkscape.
Yeah, Inkscape is the name of the program. If you would like to see more, you can go to inkscape.org. And it's completely free. You don't have to pay anything for it. I've been using Inkscape now for about 10 years. So it's definitely a program that has a good, solid history. There's lots of people involved. It's open source, so you can add to it. And there's people who have added all sorts of interesting, different like extensions and everything. So it's a wonderful little community. There we go. So we're doing the round part of her ear. This is a little thing where I kind of deviate from how LLK draws Faith, but I've done a lot of art based off of Animal Crossing, which is one of my absolute favorite series. So I kind of picked up on some of their ways of drawing ears. Let's see.
Well, they are pretty adorable. I mean, let's be honest.
They're nice and round and soft. Like you want adorable Simildon Fatalis ears to be. There we go. So we can actually do one sort of fun thing. So what we're going to do, we've drawn this nice ear. Actually, here I'm going to pull back just a bit. I want this a little rounder.
And not just Faith fan art, but a new Faith emote.
Yes, this will be a new emote for the channel. We hope to have it up for the next tree fort. I won't be able to finish it during this block. We're just going to do as much art as we can. So what I just did there is I've done a duplication. So you can do, it's either Control-D or there's a little duplicate menu button there. We're going to duplicate it, we're going to flip it by hitting the little horizontal flip. And it sort of lets us have a little bit of a jump start on the ear for this side.
Just to answer your chat question, she sketched it beforehand and then scanned it in, right?
Yep. Yeah, I have a Canon scanner that I scanned it in with. I like to just work in pencil for my sketches. There are some people who they will do digital art all start to finish in a program, which I totally respect. I have a lot of friends who are digital artists who do that. I just like pencil. I was actually sketching this while I was watching the runs yesterday. So we got it kind of all sketched out. Trust me, this is about I went through 3 different iterations before I came up with one I liked. And that's definitely something where if you are someone who would like to get into making emotes, definitely iterate your sketches. You know, don't just be satisfied with the first one. If you know, go ahead, make a couple variations. Sometimes the first one will be the one you like the most. That definitely has happened with me. Sometimes it takes a few tries before you find out what you like. I actually really like emote design because it's an art style that fits with the way I like to draw. So I like the big, thick outlines. I like drawing fun expressions. There we go. So we kind of were able to save ourselves a little work there by borrowing that ear. I'm going to go back to this one and just touch it up just a bit. What I'm actually going to do, I think, is we're going to add one extra little node here just to help it round a bit more.
Yeah, emote art, I can definitely agree with you. It's like its own kind of style in and of itself, especially because you have to consider the fact of how much your drawings are going to be shrunk down, and you need to make it in such a way that the expression is still very visible, or whatever it is you're trying to convey is still visible to the people who can see it in chat.
It's very interesting. I like the sort of... I actually am like a fan of like emoji and all that. I think it's a very interesting sort of style of expression. And I like how if you ever want to have this, here you go. This is time for Serpenter stuff. I actually like going on Emojipedia and looking at how different companies have rendered different like emotes and emoji. It's interesting to see the variations there are. And that's definitely a good sort of jumping off point for designing. The other thing I really like is there's a lot of artists who have created what are called expression memes, where they'll kind of come up with, you know, usually about like a dozen silly expressions, and they're like, okay, you can use this as inspiration for your own art. And I like the people who make like the super duper cartoony ones, because that helps to be an inspiration to me. So I sort of did like the same sort of trick. We duplicated that cheek. We're going to go ahead, sort of adapt it to this line art. And what we're going to do, so we have this right now, currently it's considered to be one solid line. What we're going to do is we're going to break the line. So now we have two independent lines. We're going to carefully pull this one down. And we're going to pull this one over here. And this is just to give us a slightly different sort of feel to this cheek. We're probably going to pull this line in a bit more. So I'm just changing the curve slightly. There we go. So now we have sort of more of an overlapping curve there. Actually, I'm going to temporarily turn off my... you can have nodes snap to each other. There we go. I turned it off temporarily just to get that very precise placement. I'm going to go ahead and go and repeat that on this side. So again, we're just breaking the line. And then we're going to...
we have a question in chat.
Sure.
Is there a key you can press to stop the points from snapping to each other?
Yeah, I don't... It is... Oh, yeah, it's the % key. Which, that's great. You're all speedrunners. You all know what that key is. So yeah, so you can turn the snapping on and off with %. Or I can see here, I have an entire snapping menu that's over here on the side. And I can choose exactly what things will snap to other things. So usually I just have point snap on. Actually, I'm going to pull this up slightly. There we go. So we're looking good. We got some nice round cheeks. We'll go ahead. We'll do a very boopable snoot. Actually, here
Must boop the snoot.
Must boop the snoot. I am pro booping all the snoots. And what we're going to do is we started off, so this right now, we talked a little earlier about different node types. So right now this is a corner node. We're going to turn this into a nice smooth node to get a nice smooth arc there for that part. And then here, so right now we're actually using our node snapping. Boop. So that way the nose will line up right along with the snoot. We're probably going to make this here. We'll sort of do a fun little thing. So, going nice and slow as we kind of round out the nose. There we go. We'll lift that corner up a bit. So we kind of did that so we made sure that we had the same sort of general shape. But we don't want this to be what's called tangent lines where they all kind of connect to each other. So what we're going to do is now that we've done that, we're going to turn off our snapping. We're going to go here, we're going to do Control Shift, and we're going to make this ever so slightly bigger. Just enough that the lines have a little bit of a break in them now. So they still follow the same general curve, but they have a little bit of a break now. So we'll go in. These are going to be some pretty simple lines for her muzzle.
Yeah, this is definitely really nice with the vectors, because imagine how difficult it might be, even with a tablet, to do some of these lines over the original diagram.
I mean, usually when I see other digital artists kind of do this, it's not uncommon to watch them, do a line, like 5 or 6 times before they come up with one that they like. Inkscape definitely lets you take your time with the art, and they said if you don't like it, you can go back, you can edit it later. Like I might want to just nudge this nose just a tad over, and then we can actually go ahead and we can nudge individual nodes, so we can make very, very minute changes. Like here. Chat, do y'all want to see like how minute of a change we can make? I'm going to, let's go draw this line. And we're going to zoom in on just this node.
There is a question. What are you pressing to make the 2 lines appear within your line? And they're sorry if that doesn't make any sense.
The 2 lines appear within my line. Let's see. Are you maybe looking at the... Oh, these guys is what they're looking at. The where are they? Oh, the handles. So when I usually am drawing nodes, I am drawing them in as corners to start. And then once I go and sort of manipulate the line at all, the handles come out. And then from the handles, you can make your changes. If you're actually looking down, hopefully you might be able to see it. It might be a little hard to see on stream. But when I'm moving any of the handles, it's telling me exactly how many pixels am I moving it by, what angle change am I moving it by, what's the current length of the handle. So if you like really granular information about your art, Inkscape might be for you. Yeah, like I was about to go in and just show how close we can zoom in. Here, let's actually, go away from this project for 1 second. We're going to zoom in on this white space. I'm going to zoom in as much as I can. So I am now zoomed in, and I'm going to double check this at 25,000%.
That's a lot of magnification, my dear. Also, chat. SchalaKitty is the one drawing, and I am just here to read out questions and ask the questions of her and make whatever comments or questions I also might have, because I find this very interesting.
So you can make the teeniest, tiniest little half-pixel square. And trust me, I've had times where I've gone down to like 25,000% magnification and still been like, can I magnify a bit more?
It's pretty intense though. It's always nice that what you can find that you can do with a lot of these art programs.
Oh yeah, there's other free ones out there. I don't have a lot of experience with them outside of Inkscape. I know a lot of people are fans of like Fire Alpaca is like another free drawing program. I know there's GIMP as well. Inkscape is just the one that got my heart. So there you go. And I guess I should say at this point, I am actually 100% self-taught with all this. Like, I did go to a little bit of like continuing education art classes, but those are more focused on like businessy kind of things. So with actual art, I just taught myself.
Well, that just makes it all the more impressive.
Well, I mean, just to get a little Bob Ross on y'all. I mean, art is absolutely something that can be pursued. Oh, here. I'll do the pencil tool. Pencil tool lets you just freehand draw with your mouse. But even with that... Oh, I forgot I was in pink mode. There we go.
Pink tooth! Woohoo! Pink tooth.
But even with that, we still did a pretty good job. It just puts nodes, though, probably not where I would put them, so I'm just going to delete that one. Boop. There we go. And we're going to just pull that up ever so slightly. Because again, this, you see this sort of gray edge there? That's the edge of the bounding box for the emote. So I want to make sure everything fits inside there by the end. So we'll go ahead, we'll sort of do our little trick that we've been doing. Actually, I want to make this tooth a bit more fang-like.
So, question, do you ever flip or mirror drawings to see faults? Is that even possible to do in Inkscape?
Oh yeah, you can totally do that in Inkscape. If we wanted to... Here, I'll save real quick before we do this. So if you want to... We could definitely do it with the lines we're working on. So here, I'll turn off the sketch underneath. So see, we flipped it all the way around. Inkscape is actually super easy to flip stuff. So like I said, sort of looking at it flipped, I might change up the nose a little bit. Or change up the ears a little bit. But we'll kind of do that when we're at the end with the line art. There we go. Control-Z that back into shape. That's the other thing that's really nice about Inkscape. The undo feature goes back pretty far. Not, ridiculously far, but still further than what you normally do. Get ourselves another tooth. So this is a slightly differently designed fang, so that's okay. Faith can have different looking fangs. There we go. So I'm just going to edit that. We're going to tilt that slightly.
A question: Does Inkscape crash often? Have you had it crash mid sketch or while you're working?
I've had it crash before. As they've put out new versions, it's become much more stable. When I started using it, it was definitely more prone to crashing. Now it doesn't happen that much. I still recommend saving frequently though, but that's more just. I think that's every artist, anyone who is ever who has ever made a thing ever, will tell you please save a lot. Safety
Does it
save,
auto
y'all.
save it all, or?
Yeah, it will. If you do crash, it will give you like an autosave. So you usually don't lose everything.
Do you know how often it autosaves? That was a chat question.
Oh, I'm trying to remember. I think that's something you can do in the settings. It's probably underneath settings, and I don't want to pull those up because those will have information that we don't want on stream. Let's say that you can
Totally
definitely check in the settings to see about how often things autosave. See, now after we did that flip, I'm like, I'm gonna have to adjust this nose, but we'll get there in just a second. So we're already looking pretty good. We got most of Faith's face done. We're actually going to lock this down. This is mainly so I don't accidentally select any lines. Then go up to the color layer.
Chat is asking, does the save autosave also save the undos?
It does not save your undos. Yeah, it will start you with a fresh history. So that is, just sort of part and parcel. So we're going to do these cute little markings Faith has on her fur. We're going to do a really fun trick for these. So I want to kind of... So what we're going to do is we're going to... Here, I have to make sure I'm doing this exactly right, because this is a little different of a technique. So here we go. And you can see me, I can see up here in the corner what my current fill and stroke settings are, and then I'm changing them down here sometimes. This is the palette. You actually can swap out different palettes if you want to. So I just generally tend to use the default palette, but it does come with other palettes. So if you want to do art that is limited to a very specific palette, you can do that. There's lots of fun built-in ones. So what we're going to do is we're going to use, this is a kind of a really fun trick. We're going to go in here, we're going to change up our stroke settings. We want a nice flat edge on this. And then, let's see, this is probably closer to like 40? Yeah, probably about 40-ish. Hey, that was a pretty good guess. So we want these markings to sort of fall in a nice, neat line. So what we're going to do is we're going to do them as a stroke to start. This sort of nice stroke here. What you could actually do is also go and change the opacity. Make sure they're kind of basically going where we want them. We could probably go a little thinner with this. Let's go down to maybe 37. There we go. So that's good. That's sort of the basic curve we want to do. And now we're going to go up here to our path, and we're going to do stroke to path. So now this is now a shape that we can now go through and edit. We're going to edit it in a very particular way. We're going to go back to using pink. I like using pink for editing things because it stands out a lot. So
yeah, I've definitely seen my shares of artists who do totally digitals. They'll do like a very visible color like pink or orange or something as their initial sketching, and then go over it.
When I'm doing something that's really complex, I've jokingly named it. It's like a Sonic level. I'm going to call it like Neon Madness or something, where it's like all neon colors. If I'm keeping track of several different shapes at once. All right, so this is all going to make sense in like just a few seconds.
I have complete faith in your ability.
And we need one more. So we want to make sure that all these curves also sort of line up with each other and follow the same general shape. There we go. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to take these, our little pink erasers. We're going to do Control K, which they are now considered to be a single shape. And I'll do this in the menu so you can see. So we're going to select both these shapes at the same time. We're going to do Path, and we're going to do Difference. And look at that. They have now been cut up. And so now we have these little, and they're the exact same width. They have like this nice roundedness to them. We'll turn off the sketch so you can really see. So you have nice little face markings.
Wow, that worked out really well. That's awesome.
Yeah, you could do a lot of stuff with interlocking shapes to sort of cut things. I do that a lot more when I'm doing. No, we need to. Yeah, the only thing with undoing stuff is it won't undo color selections, which I accidentally did my color selections wrong. That's fine. We'll fix it in 1 second. So we're just going to go ahead, just repeat that. And since it is a different shape with this, we'll go ahead and do its own cut with this. Just want to ever so slightly go over where we need to be. Okay, so again, path, make that into a shape, and then we'll lower the opacity so we can see the originals. And then here I'm actually going to very gently move this down like a few pixels just to be a little bigger than we want it to be. And then go back to pink mode, and we'll just do pretty much the same thing. We'll make, actually, it's probably best to start with the shape in the middle. And then we'll just fix up the other ones. We'll have some markings. What we'll probably do is we'll do the eyes and eyebrow next, and then we'll see if we can at least do some flat colors real quick.
So question in chat, couldn't you just mirror the markings on the opposite side? Or does that cause them to stop being considered a single object?
No, right now this is a single object still. We can separate out if we want. It's more that because of the squash and stretch of her face, I want these to be ever so slightly different. She's not perfectly symmetrical. We've done what we can to kind of borrow stuff, but because this is something where we want this to have a very consistent shape along the markings. We don't want to be. It wouldn't help us very much to try and mirror it. So in this case, we'll get a better look in the end. It'll be more natural looking. That's probably the better way to put it. If we go in and we do these markings as their own, completely separate, completely sort of done from scratch thing. And sometimes that just happens where it's just, even though it could be faster to do it another way, if you want things to look more natural, it's better to just, and even then, like you see, this is not taking like a great amount of time. We're going to just control, oh, hello, shifted on me. Control K. So again, this is now one shape. Now select the shape underneath and just cut that all out. And now we can kind of see them sort of side by side. Like here, what I will do for chat is I will flip this. You can see, look, they have like a completely different style of the way like the cuts are going. Like even if I rotated it, it still is not exactly the same. So that's why we just took the extra few minutes and we just did that side as well. So let's go ahead, we'll do the eyes and the eyebrows, and then we'll see if we can very quickly put down some flat colors here. Eyes like this, I tend to do a little differently. I know as soon as I do this, I'm going to have to completely reset the stroke. So everyone, be prepared for some thick strokes there for 1 second. Go ahead, set that back.
This is Inkscape Mystical Turkey.
Yep, that is the program I'm working on. So what I did is I also did the fill in black, because, we want this to be sort of the big, cute eyes. Oh, by the way, see, we have like roughly 20 minutes left. Just as a reminder, y'all, we have that poll going for Steven Universe to name the first boss. Your choices were, I was just there on it.
It's Dave, Insectosaur, Furnace Face, and the Bladinator. And Scala's vote went to Dave, mine went to the Bladinator.
I'm glad Dave is winning. I'm very happy. I'm glad everyone will have to face the wrath of Dave. So what we're actually going to do is so this is an example where we have a complete shape where it's easy for us to also add in the fill. So we're going to go ahead here and play with the fill tool a little bit. So I have it set to black. I've saw in a lot of LLK's art, she usually has stuff not set to 100% pure black unless it's for some of her more sort of cutesy drawings. So instead of doing 100% pure black here for the fill on Faith's eyes, we're going to lighten it up ever so slightly. And we're going to add just a touch of, make it sort of like this sort of navy bluish tone. It's something that's going to be a pretty small thing, but it adds a little bit of extra warmth in there. And this is a thing where we can easily flip it. So, whoop. And then we're going to, just because of how dark this shape is, we'll go ahead. And even when we're flipping stuff, you can see I'm still going in afterwards, making a few tweaks, have it be a little closer to the sketch. There we go. Pull that line down a bit. So now we have some cute eyes. But I did notice that Faith's brows are usually drawn full black. So we'll do that for her brows. And actually, let me... There we go, because we might need to pull in just a bit with this. There we go.
So to answer your question, the sketch was done traditionally on paper and then scanned in.
Yep. There definitely are people who do full digital sketching. Usually you're going to be using a tablet for that. I do own a tablet. I have one of the entry-level Wacom tablets. But I find that I like doing the digital, my sketch traditionally, and then inking it in Inkscape is kind of how I've come about it. Here's the wonderful thing, is that there's lots of ways to do art. There's so many ways to do art. And this is just how I like to do art. If you have a different way, or if you would like to find a different way, trust me, there are many, many art tutorials out there. There are so many wonderful creative streamers out there. And I definitely, I have some friends who do creative streaming, and sometimes I just like to just sit and chill in their chat. We usually just listen to music and usually just talk about like games and anime. So it's a super duper chill time, and I'm all about that.
So a couple more questions. You prefer to use like the pure number 0000 black or something a little bit lighter?
It depends. For emote design, where we're doing these very thick lines, I do use pure black for that. Other times I might, depending on the art, do some colorful lines. The only thing is that it's a little hard sometimes to do colorful lines in Inkscape, just because of the way line layering works. So like if we wanted to do that, I know what people are talking about, where you kind of have your line art be colored. Oh, I realized I've been doing these on the color layer, not on the line layer. Here, we'll very quickly show how easy it is. I know something that, people who do other sorts of types of digital drawing always be like, no, I drew on the wrong layer. Where you can just move selection, like, hey, I meant to do this on the line layer. Boop. And now it's on the line layer. See, it's now part of the line layer. This is still back on the color layer. It's super duper easy to fix that. Anyway,
there's also one other question.
Yeah.
There was a question about whether when you're doing less cartoonish things, is it harder to shade on Inkscape?
Yeah,
The vector art, rather.
Yeah, vector art definitely favors the cartoony cell shaded styles. However, vector art is actually used in a lot of different productions. So vector art can do everything from I'm going to use Cartoon Network shows kind of as an example. Everything from like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends to oh god, the Venture Brothers is all done in similar style programs. So there's actually a pretty wide variety. But if you like more sort of painterly styles of shading, you're probably better off in something like Paint Tool Sci or Comic Studio. All right, so we have our lines done. We're going to see if we can very quickly get some flat color done. So luckily, you can see I have all these lovely references of what colors are what. So flat color, what that basically just means is it's whatever sort of the main color of an area is without any shading applied to it. So also the fun thing with doing this sort of method is we can, I have to turn the stroke off. Boop. That we can sort of be a little, we don't have to be super precise with our lines because they're all going to be hidden anyway. No one's going to see this when we're finished. So you can sort of be a little quick with how you want to do your lines because you're going to hide them. It's fine. No one will know. I'll keep your secret. You can keep mine, as I say to however many people are watching this.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's totally a secret to everyone.
It is absolutely a secret to everybody. And then we'll do the ear fill. Also, I'll sort of explain this because this is something that you can't see. I'm changing my zoom this fast because Inkscape lets you just hit the minus key or the plus key to change what your current zoom level is. And so I'm just doing all that on keyboard. So that's how that's why my zoom changes so fast. There we go. We can even just tuck that in. Make absolutely sure everything is neat and tidy. There we go.
Chad is very surprised that you're doing this with a mouse and not with a tablet, by the way.
Nope. It is 100% mouse. It's I have done some stuff in Inkscape with a tablet. It does have tablet support up to and including changing accepting pressure values to do different weights of lines, which is a pretty cool little feature. But I learned how to do stuff on a mouse, and I just find it works very well for my workflow. Again, I started learning Inkscape when I didn't have any money for a tablet, but I was like, oh, this is like an art style that you can do where, even if you're someone who is basically at that point, I've been out of college for a little while, so I was like, oh, I did not. Okay, so we have a lot of money, but it was still a way I could learn how to do art, and it made me happy. So what I'm going to do very quickly, so we did Faith's fur color. We're going to send that down to the bottom of the stack, so now it's underneath her markings. We could do up her nose, which is also that sort of cute purple color. And we'll do her muzzle. We can actually just leave this main yellow just underneath everything, because we're just going to draw on top of it anyway. There we go. Cute nose. Boop. And we'll go ahead and do her muzzle, which is this softer shade of yellow. Oh. You can see, don't have stuff selected, because if I want to change this nose to pink, I could do that very easily. But no, her muzzle is pale yellow.
This is so adorable, Schala. Definitely
Aww.
Lovely.
Thank you. I wanted her, the way I described it to Muffins is like, I just imagine Faith being in her tree fort and she sees all the people who are working so hard and trying their best, and she's like, yes, I am very supportive of you. And that's why she has a big old heart.
I absolutely agree with that sentiment. She would be very happy with that.
Yes, and what we're going to do down here at the bottom is we're going to have this be the her fort. So it'll be up to GDQ what they name the emote. I kind of had like a lurk emote kind of in mind, like just pop in and be like, "Yay, you're doing so good! I'm so proud of you." That's very much how I am with like, you know, RPG Chick can attest. Like that's basically how I am. Like when I'm not speedrunning and my friends are, I'm like, "I'm so excited! I'm so proud of you! You get that PB! You can do it!"
This is very true.
What I just did there is I connected these 2 points. Now we can kind of go in. I need just to edit this little part here. There we go. And what we're going to do is just turn that back into a corner so we can have it slide down underneath there. Hey, you be a corner too. Boop, there you go. You also, if you want to do like a quick way, you actually can just double click nodes and it'll turn them right back to corners. So we just gotta do. It'll be a little hard to see her teeth just because it's going to be white on top of white. But I'll zoom in a bit so you can see the sort of paper. Boop. There's one tooth, and we'll flip around and do the other tooth. There we go. We could just sort of just tuck that in. There we go. So there we go. It's already starting to look like Faith now. We actually can do at this point is, remember, we did that heart back at the very beginning. Boop. So we do need to just move this heart. So what I'm going to do is, instead of turning off the sketch layer, I'm just going to temporarily turn it on and just lower the opacity enough so I can see where the actual edge of the bounding box is. And we're going to take this heart. We're just going to kind of gently nudge it down there. We'll have to probably... Actually, here, we can just do this right now. We could just... We're like, oh wait, we made that heart a little too big. Well, that doesn't matter for Inkscape. You can just go in. We can change the whole size of the heart all at once. We can also give it a cute little tilt to it without changing anything. So we'll kind of slowly rearrange the heart so we can have a nice big heart there.
Chat is very excited to use your emote, and they hope it gets approved soon.
Yeah, we'll be doing a little bit of stuff afterwards, just to make sure that when it's shrunk down, because when we shrink it down, we have to then export it to a ping, just to make sure that all looks super duper clean. We also here we can show this fun thing. So I'm going to move this up a bit. The align tools in Inkscape are absolutely fantastic. This is actually one of the reasons why I so much prefer it over Illustrator, because you can do all sorts of really fun ways to rearrange things. So we know kind of roughly this is the right shape of the heart. We're going to say relative to the page, that's our little bounding box. We're like, I want to touch just the very top edge, and it will automatically boop it right into place for me. I don't have to do anything else. So now we can kind of see how this has come along. So we still have our nice little heart there. We're going to... We haven't really done anything kind of down underneath here, so we're going to go in with our lines. Because this is going to be something that's going to be ever so slightly tricky, but let's see if we can kind of get a few more minutes left. So usually Faith's Tree Fort has these fun purple lines. We'll have to put the stroke back on after we draw this line. So we're going to go ahead, and we want this to be one nice straight line. So we're just going to kind of cut along the edges here. So right now it doesn't have a stroke, so that's why it's not showing up as anything. So we're going to go ahead and... here we go. That's where I need to be. Boop, there we go, now it has a line. We're actually
so just to quickly answer chat question, Scala was talking before how the program would crash a lot when it initially was being rolled out and with updates, but she did say it does crash a lot less often. But of course, like with any art, you probably should save as often as you can.
Absolutely, do save as often as you can. Just because things happen. Trust me, I've had Photoshop crash on me too.
Photoshop crashes are like the worst.
Yeah. So what we're going to be doing with this line, so this is going to be the line for, actually, we should put this on the color layer. That's actually going to work out. No, I have it go partly over the lines. So, now I'm trying to think of, actually, completely different thought. We're going to add a layer. So we're going to add a layer called Fort.
Thank goodness for layers.
And what we're going to do is we're now going to move this selection to the Fort layer. Boop. So now it's actually going to kind of sit underneath, and what we'll do, and this will be something for me to do kind of in the post thing, is we're going to be editing our lines so that way the Fort will be completely underneath everything else. So this is sort of more just as like an illustration of kind of where this is going. So I'm going outside the bounding box, that's fine. Inkscape doesn't care.
So question from chat, do you do commissions, Scala, for those who are possibly interested?
I do commissions. Information is on my Twitch page, which is twitch.tv/SchalaKitty. Unfortunately, I got into things with moving and my the people who host my website, I have to kind of grump at them a little bit about stuff. So my portfolio is currently down. I'm going to get it back up though, so don't worry about that. But yeah, if you want to go over to my page, it also has a list of all the wonderful people I've had the chance to work with. This is my first time doing something for GDQ, but I've done work with RPG Limit Break and Speed Gaming and Randomania over the years, mainly for layouts, because I also do layout work. So we'll actually move. So what we're going to be doing is we'll be doing this kind of afterwards, is we're going to be having a fort down here. Actually, here, let's move this layer. Actually can. There. So these are going to basically, I'm going to do this sort of as two sort of separate pieces, and I'm kind of going to put them together later. So we'll have the fort, and then we'll have Faith, a chompin', because chompin' is fun. She's extreme chomping, Faith.
Also, just a reminder, folks, there is the Steven Universe Name That Boss poll going on the Frame Fatale's Twitter, and there's only about 15 minutes left to vote. So you can totally go vote, depending on what you would like to name the boss for that run that's coming up next. You have Dave and Insectosaur, Furnace Face, and the Bladinator. So yeah, definitely go vote. Go vote. Go vote.
Go vote. I'm so team Dave. So now that we've kind of gone through, we can. Well, I see we only have a few minutes left here. We'll go ahead. We'll give this good boopable nose here. We'll sort of show again how sort of shading works. Again, it's another shape. That's all it is. So we're using, again, these colors are the ones that the wonderful LLK came up with. Her color palette choices are just absolutely beautiful. I'm always amazed by how wonderfully colorful her art is. And use this. Oh, that's right. These are actually orange. These are not pink, I realize. That's okay. We can fix that. Boop. It's fixed.
Such an easy fix.
I know. That's like one of the main reasons why like people will ask me about commissions. They're like, oh, what if I like want to change the color? I'm like, it takes me like 5 seconds to change the color. Don't even worry about it. I'll make sure that it comes out in a color that you like. There we go. So add a nice little sort of shininess to the nose. And what we can do, so that's a little sort of stiff compared to how round everything else is. So again, just turn these into smooth nodes. I usually like to try and sort of smooth it out myself first. There we go. because this art style is definitely, it's very round, very soft. There we go. So that's a good nose shine we've got going on now.
Now we really need to boop that snoot.
You need to. You need to. It's so cute. Watch out that there are also fangs.
Question in chat, is there a way to soften the edges of the shapes?
Yeah, if you want to here, we can sort of show a little bit. If you want to, over here, there's a little menu here that says blur %. Oh, actually, I realized we've been doing this all in a lower opacity than we need to. Boop. That's okay. Also, easy to fix. You can go in and you can make the edges blur. So here, I'll pull this out. See, now it has blurry edges. So if you want a soft blurriness to it, if you don't want to be like such strict cell style shading, try saying that one 5 times fast.
No, thank you. I'm good.
you can add blur %. I like my shading to be. I like my style to be very much nice and crisp, though. There we go. Now those are the right colors. I'm like, those look a little muted. There we go. What I'm trying to do is sort of balance out the nose and the snoot. Do a little, just a little touch there on this side. There we go.
Question in chat, is the white hue over the black lines on purpose?
The white hue. Oh, you mean the sparkles up there? That is on purpose. I usually have sparkles be completely off. But anyway, that looks to be our time for right now. So we can go ahead and call time there, Muffins. So let's pull back, and what I'm going to very quickly do, as I lock my
I'm
layers.
going to squeeze, because this is so adorable.
So here, and also I'll turn off the ref for just like a second. So just as kind of like a reminder of where we sort of came from. So to show it without color, without lines, without the heart. So we started with just this little sketch, and then we did some lines. We added some color. We still have lots of color to go, though. And we have an adorable heart. And there will be a fort down here at the bottom in the end. So this emote will be added in to the GDQ emote roster, hopefully by the next tree fort. And so you all will have an adorable little Faith popping up, showing her support, showing that she believes in you. And thank you all so much for just having a super duper fun, chill time with me. Thank you so much, RPG Chick, for being my buddy for this.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I loved getting the info and watching you do this.
Yeah, and I do occasionally do art streams over on my channel, so it just sort of depends on if I have any commissions in the hopper or not. I like to do it. It actually is helpful to do them on stream, because then it's like, oh, I have to finish because now people are watching me.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
I can't just procrastinate on it. But yeah, this was just a fun little thing. Coming up next, we do have Steven Universe, which is an absolutely fantastic run. If you've never seen it, if you love the show, trust me, you will love this game. We do have a few more minutes left. I think it's like only like 9 or so minutes. Yeah, so that way you can choose the name of the first boss, hashtag Team Dave. I'm glad Dave is winning. You made me very proud, chat. Thank you so much. I'm going to tell both my friends who are named Dave about this. And yeah, also as I see a sub in chat. So yeah, like I said, if you like this emote, if you sub to the GDQ channel, you can get this emote. And also, you can help support wonderful shows like not just the Frame Fatales Marathon, but also the Tree Fort, which is our normal showcase of female speedrunners that happens on Sundays. And also get things like the Hot Fix and the Sprint. So please, please, please. Oh, and community showcases. So please consider subscribing or donating your bits and help support all of these wonderful events. And I hope you all continue to enjoy the marathon. I will be back later on this evening. You thought you were done with Scala. You are not done with Scala yet.
That's okay. We don't want to be done with Scala.
I'll be back for the race for Final Fantasy Legend 2 alongside Natara. And then you also get me talking about Final Fantasy 7 for like 3 hours during the Final Fantasy 7 PC Any Percent race. Because they came to me and they're like, we need someone to talk about Final Fantasy 7 for 3 hours. And I just raised my hand. I'm like, yes, me, please, I will gladly do that. All right, y'all. So we'll see you all later on. And please enjoy the rest of the marathon.